of the events and all of the healings that you've invested in 2018. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your emails. Thank you for your reviews. Just thank you for being front and center and being such a hardcore let there be lose listener. You have no idea how much this means to me, and I want you to know that I always acknowledge every play I get off of every single episode, every review I get on iTunes, every purchase that comes in. I am so grateful for everything that we have created, the memories and the experiences in 2018, and that in 2019 we are only going to get more powerful, more knowledgeable, more confident, more expansive, more creative, more receptive. We are just going to become something that we have never even dreamed of. I feel it in every single pore in my body as I do this work day in and day out, as I share it with you and you share your work with me. I know that we are on a journey that people outside of this podcast will never ever be able to understand. That while we're out there walking through our journeys in solitude, that we are also walking hand in hand, not only with each other, but also with those that still have a lot to learn, because we are connected to them and we are leading by example. And it's not leading by an example where we think we are better than, because we aren't better than, because we are only as great as the weakest member in our lives. Meaning everything you see in that weak member that you want to stand up against and judge is actually something that lies within you, and you need to stand up and rectify in your own life. We are all connected, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the connection. Thank you for keeping me grounded. Thank you for elevating me. Just fucking thank you. I can't express my love enough for you. You have completely changed my life in this past year, and I can't wait to see what is in store for us. There's so much ahead. In December, I had some really powerful experiences when it came to my energetic healings. I'm already closing in on 2 years of doing energetic clearings, what is called pranic healings. I don't feel comfortable calling it pranic healing because it has morphed into something that my higher entities, my guides, my angels, my ancestors, all those that I pray to while I am working in healing, has completely transformed into something that is mine. My ability to be able to see things that are happening in my clients' bodies is strengthening month after month after month. And I have to tell you that every time I spend in the realm of healing my clients, I feel so expansive in that space, and I can see myself growing, not only by the confirmations that I receive after I speak to a client, when I hear them telling me their experience after a clearing, and we make the correlations of what has taken place on my end and what is taking place on their end. It made me realize how much I love spending time in the realm where I'm healing my clients. I wanted to let you know that I have 2 programs that are opening up in the month of January. I wasn't even going to talk about these programs today. I don't even really know how I was going to talk about these programs because it makes me uncomfortable to sell my healings. Most of my healings are sold by word of mouth or returning clients. But I realized during my healings in the month of December that I am really doing a disservice to all of those that are in need of the type of service that I am providing. I wanted to share a couple of experiences that took place in the month of December, and also to let you know of what services I have for the month of January. Some of the slots for January have already been purchased by returning clients, but we still have several available. Before I go into that, I really want to share the types of things that are happening during my healings. I'm keeping everyone anonymous for the sake of my clients. experience, which I also think that's why it's so hard for me to share these types of experiences with you, because I like to keep everything so confidential. But I also realize that there's so much growth taking place, not only on my end, but most importantly on my client's end, the person that I am serving, that I think it's a disservice to not mention this. I had a client this month that I had an extremely beautiful energy clearing with. We're just going to call her Rosas. We're going to assume that her last name was Rosas. It wasn't her last name, but it was close. When I worked on her, the first thing I saw was a little girl that was crying. And as I began to clear her energy, I watched the little girl transform into this extremely powerful being. I began to scrape off all of the energy. It was like muck. It feels like tar that I'm just scraping, and I can feel the level of weight in tar as I scrape. The heavier the tar, the more negative or congested energy they're carrying that doesn't serve them. As I scraped it on this woman, I could feel the light shining through. There were beautiful rays of light shining through her aura. She began to stand tall. She was no longer crouching down like a little girl. She was standing up like a woman. I began to clear her head, her chest, her center. And as I began to do that, I saw the figure of a woman with bright lights shining all around her. And then as I swept her feet, I saw roses. And I thought to myself, wow, this looks familiar. And then I heard my guides. I heard the energy that comes to me say, Dile que le traigo rosas. I'm substituting her last name because I want to maintain her privacy. Actually, you know what? We're going to keep her privacy. We're still going to share her last name. It was Ramos. Her last name was Ramos. And my higher being said, Dile que le traigo Ramos. And as my higher entity said that, and I wiped away the energy of her feet, I saw roses. And I'm watching the light shine from her body, and I'm watching now these roses on her feet, and I was like, wow, this looks like the Virgen de Guadalupe. And as I saw her shining so beautifully, I kept working. There were a lot of things that went in as I go into the depths of her body. When I first work on a person, I clear what I call the energy body. That means all of the energy that surrounds the body, almost like your aura. I clean all of that out. And once the muck from that is clean, then I go into every single part of the body, the eyes, the nose, the lips, the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the hands. Wherever my higher entities are guiding me towards, I go towards that energy and I start to work and I clean it out. I am basically just a person of service where I'm cleaning. I feel like I used to go with my mom to clean houses when I was little, and that's exactly what I feel like. Like, I feel like I'm going in there like a janitor, and I'm just completely of service, and I'm cleaning out all of this energy that is allocated that we've been carrying through the years. There were so many other things that took place during this healing, but I don't want to focus on that. What I want to focus on is that when I said, Dile que le traigo ramos, which translates to tell her that I'm bringing her a bouquet. Bouquet translates into ramos. I never even realized that Ramos, a bouquet, was a last name. And that was my client's last name. Her last name was Ramos. And I thought to myself, whoa, this is trippy. So what I do after I perform an energy clearing is I send all of my clients their notes and I tell them exactly what my higher entities allowed for me to see and what messages their higher entities wanted me to tell them. And that's what I deliver. And so sometimes, as you can imagine, I get insecure because I don't necessarily see myself as a psychic, but I have to tell you that every time I'm in this energy field, I can fully understand what a psychic is, and I feel like I completely embody that because I begin to see things that are beyond me. So I tell her, I don't know if your last name is Ramos, if that's a name you married into, or if that's your last name. This part, again, as I just mentioned, is such an insecurity to me because I'm putting out what I can see, and I also could be shot down. That's why I covered myself by saying, I don't know if you married into this name, but I'm seeing a tie to the last name Ramos. And someone told me that they're bringing you Ramos. Turns out my client writes back to me and lets me know that Ramos is indeed her birth last name, and that her father had abandoned her when she was just a baby, and that for so many years she wanted to remove the last name Ramos from her being, from her entity. That left me shook. I have to tell you, all my healings leave me shook. This just happens to be one of the latest and the freshest because they're all this powerful. But it really left me shook in the sense that I understood right then and there that her ancestors from the side of Ramos, from her dad's side, were coming forward to her and letting her know, I know you don't like us. I know you want to let go of us. Because I didn't mention this, but she had shared with me that for so many years, she despised that last name. She wanted to get rid of it, and she wanted to acquire her stepfather's last name, and rightfully so. I understand her pain, and I would completely encourage her to do that had I heard her pain. But because I went into her energy body and I heard her ancestors say, tell her that I'm bringing her last name because it's hers and it belongs to her and it is who she is. And even if she tries to erase it or change it, it will never change her DNA. It will never change her rostro. It will never change where she comes from. I found that so powerful and so paralyzing. And I know that for my client, it brought a certain level of peace because she understood that everything happens for a reason and that at some point in time, we must make peace with the past and we must accept it. And we must come to the place where we understand that we have agreed to everything we have attracted in our lives. That at some point in time, we made a pact and we said, I'm going to bear this life. I'm going to take it on and I'm going to change it. It was such a powerful healing. Another healing that I had that I also found really profound in December was an experience where I had already cleared my client's energy body and I was called to work on her face. I could already feel from clearing her energy body that there was a strong calling for me to focus on her face. As I went into her face, I felt a strong pull to her nose. And when I began to clear her nose, I received a really strong experience of feeling a little bit of pain in my nostrils, and then I began to feel warm liquid coming out of my nostrils and touching my lips. And I remember the experience being a little bit traumatizing. I've never bled from my nose, so I'd never personally experienced that. I pulled out an extremely heavy, thick, strong cord that almost felt like a telephone wire. That's the only way I can explain it, like a telephone wire. And as I was pulling the wire, I kept pulling and pulling. I noticed that the wire was coming from all the way to her feet. I, of course, noted it in her notes, and in her notes I asked her, as a child, had she ever suffered from nosebleeds? Because I had experienced the nosebleed while I was clearing out her energy. And she mentioned that as a child, she suffered from many nosebleeds. And that as of recently, 2 months ago, she had experienced a couple of nosebleeds as an adult. And she had later been diagnosed with something in her blood. And she wanted to know if what I pulled out of her nose, if that cord was tied to what she had been diagnosed with in her blood. While I wasn't able to answer that question, I was completely shocked. I say this all the time with every single one of my clients. It doesn't stop amazing me how I am having these experiences that are so parallel to my clients. I felt the nosebleed and for her to confirm that she had suffered from nosebleeds all through her childhood and was experiencing them again as an adult, and then to be diagnosed with something so recent. She wanted to know if it was tied to her entire body. I'm going to share my answer to the question, which was, I can't tell you if it's tied to what has been diagnosed, to your blood, but the only thing I can tell you was the cord that I removed from your nose was so long and strong, and I remember me pulling and pulling the cord, pulling and pulling the cord, and I remember feeling the cord touching all the way down to her feet. So to me, intuitively, that tells me that what I pulled was not just attached to her sinus, but it was attached to more than that. This is the type of experience that takes place when I do energy clearings. The only reason I am talking about this today is because one of my clients for the month of December accidentally booked herself for 2 healings. The first healing, she did it by mistake. Long story short, I canceled what she thought was her healing because I saw her booked for 2. And I performed the healing on a night when she was not expecting it, nor was she ready for it. And it's an experience that happens with both myself and my client, where we're both engaged. It's a long distance healing, so anybody can purchase this type of healing from anywhere around the world. But it's an experience that's taking place in my client's house, and it's an experience that's taking place in my house. And so while I was doing the healing, she was not prepared, living her life, doing her own thing. And I couldn't connect with her. And I told her that in the email. I couldn't connect. I was having a hard time connecting. And it all made sense at the end. It was because she accidentally booked herself for 2. So the day where she was cognizant of her booking, I was already booked, complete, maxed out on clients, and I was not going to take another client. So I told her, let's just arrange for another day. And she chose December 27th. So as I worked on her healing last night, I felt so much gratitude for getting to step into this space sooner than what I would have. And as I stepped into this space last night, I realized that I hadn't even tried to promote any spaces that I had available for January 29th, although a lot of them have sold via my word of mouth. But I thought, why haven't I shared this with my current listeners? Like, why am I not more adamant about sharing the transformations and experiences that are taking place? If I enjoy being in this space so much and my clients are having such transformative experiences, like, why am I not just making the effort to talk about it? So thank you to my client from last night that made this mistake. Everything happens for a reason. I know she felt really bad because I ran 2 healings on her and I only got paid for 1. But as I explained to her, everything is for a reason, and I always will receive karma back. I believe in that wholeheartedly. And I also love entering the space. And again, entering it at a time where I normally wouldn't be entering it was so mystical to me. She also shared such a powerful experience. We had met during the Super Mama's Vision Board party, and she had entered one of my circles for the very first time. And in that circle, she had been experiencing pain in the pit of her stomach for a 1.5 years. And she mentioned that intuitively, she felt that that pain that she had been feeling for a 1.5 years was tied to anger. And as I did the cord cutting in the circle, she said that she experienced a release, and she immediately felt the pain dissipate, completely go away. And till this day, she hasn't felt that pain come back. She then went on to purchase the healing. More than anything, I want you to know the power of women gathering. I want you to know the power of cord cutting. I want you to know the power of community. And I want you to know the power of believing. The experiences that I have as I progress and as I strengthen in my knowledge are absolutely incredible. The karmic investment for these types of healings are now $108 karmic investment. You can make that investment via my Patreon page. It's called A Light Warrior Healing. You'll receive the energy healing, but not only will you receive that, you're also going to get access to all of the content that has been created on my Patreon page. So you'll receive videos, extended audio, all for a karmic investment of $108. I've been working on a very special program for the last 6 months where I'm not only performing energy clearings, but I'm also assessing any roadblocks that clients might have. In this program, I'm working through intention setting, and then I'm also looking at each client's moon cycle to create a tailored program to their moon cycle. This means that week by week, we're going to be assessing the different emotions that rise during the moon cycle, and I'm going to be able to walk you through tackling all of those, being able to set your intentions and overcome any roadblocks that you might be experiencing during this time. In addition to all of that, you'll also be receiving an energy clearing and constant communication with me as we push through the month. I'm legit freaking excited for this program. I only have a very limited amount of slots. This also includes everything else that is included in the Patreon experience, which is all the behind the scenes content. It's just a really great investment and it delivers a lot of value. I want to talk a little bit about investments now because I've been working on abundance and really understanding that mentality. And one of my goals for 2019 is to really move us away from the thought of manifesting anything that is material. That means stop worshiping anything that is outside of our power, outside of ourselves. Because the moment we begin to worship money, the moment we begin to worship a physical item that is outside of ourselves, that is the moment where we begin to lower our energy, frequency, vibration. I see money and I see material things completely different. What we need to worship is ourselves and the energy that we create. That means the ideas that come from the creation of money. Manifesting money is the aftermath. What I want us to focus on in 2019 and what I believe is going to really bring us the abundance that we are searching for is working on our minds and working on the ideas that come from our minds. For some of us in our community, it is so hard to make an investment because we're looking at paper. We're thinking of dollars. We're thinking of what's in our bank account. Listen to your intuition and see what is calling you. And I promise that when you make your investment from the heart and you focus on it, you're going to see a transformation and something that will occur that will be, oh my gosh, 20 times worth what your investment was. You will continue to reap the rewards from your investment for the rest of your life because the experience that will manifest from that investment will change the trajectory of your life. In order to see the manifestation of money in our hands and in our bank accounts, we need to begin investing in experiences and in opportunities. That is the only way we are going to see the type of expansion that we want to see. Otherwise, we will always stay stuck in the same place. Every time we push money out to something else, we are making the universe expand and we are making the universe yield to turn around and deliver what it is that we need. We are developing our faith. I just want to encourage you today to set goals in 2019 to become expansive. I love you all so much. Thank you for your love and support in 2018. May the light within grow stronger.